Hello, and welcome back to Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. We got a real cool restoration for you today. We have the Hot Wheels Bywayman. Now this is a four-wheel drive truck with the tall tires on the bottom, and this particular vehicle here has a metal base. It comes in this light blue metallic with the eagle decals on the side. This truck was originally released in 1979 and has been continually re-released with different tires, different colors, etc. This one here is in pretty beat up shape. It's got a lot of paint missing. The windshield on the inside is broken, and the wheels, the wheels with the white hubcaps there in the middle, or the white rims, they notoriously turn to slop. And what I mean by that is they just don't stay on the axle very well. They're just floppy and just kind of wear out really quick, and although they look really cool, they don't wear very well. So we're probably going to wind up replacing those with another set of wheels. We'll try and reuse the tires because I like those Goodyear tires, but overall it's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and get this bad boy apart and see what we're dealing with on the rest of the car. And we're going to have some fun with this one. I know we are. So let's go ahead and get started. I've already drilled the car apart, and there's only one post holding it on. Now the post in the front is bent, but I think we can deal with it. The body, like I said, is in pretty rough shape. See how the post is bent? That comes from where they go to put the car together, and they put it in the machine and they just mush it just a little bit too hard, because from what I understand, the machine that holds the rivets or squeezes the rivets, they use a foot pedal. Now the base overall is in good shape, but like I said, those wheels are really, really sloppy. We're going to have to replace the interior. That's broken up. That doesn't look too well. The roll cage is missing. And we're going to have to find a replacement for the windshield. This one's in pretty rough shape and it needs to be cleaned up. Here we've got the body. We're going to go ahead and put this in the embalming fluid. I'll just pop it in there and we'll let that sit for a while. I got another truck in there I'm working on. I'm always working on different projects at the same time, so this is definitely not uncommon to have more than one vehicle in the citrus strip. Or, excuse me, embalming fluid. So, go ahead and get a good coat, since we're going to be changing the color just a little bit or with a different paint. Just make sure it's coated inside and out, and usually in about an hour it's ready to go. You can use faster stuff like aircraft stripper, but it gives off really bad fumes.
Someone is being exhumed.
We've cleaned up the car. We went ahead and sprayed it, or excuse me, scrubbed it down with the degreaser, and we made sure it was clean. So now we're going to go ahead and use this paint from the Redline shop. This is called Rude Blue. It's a blue metallic, and it covers just like the other Redline paints. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that little bell to be alerted to any future videos that come out. Just take your time, put down some really nice tack coats, and let it build up and dry a little bit in between. Once I get my tack coats done, I'll let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes just to let it start to get sticky, and then I'll come back in with a little bit heavier coats. But it's very important that you put those tack coats down first, folks. Let's let that set for a bit. Okay, we've let it set for about 10 minutes. Now we're going to come back in and we're going to put some heavier coats on. This color's nice. It's very, very close already to the original color, so we're going to go ahead and stick with that, even though it's a little bit lighter. Now, if you really wanted to, you could take a couple drops of the blue Spectre Flame paint in there, and in your mixing cup, put a few drops in there just to darken it up a little bit. And don't forget, like I said, you can experiment with these Spectre Flame paints and mix your own colors. But just make sure you remember the formula, so if you got to mix any more, you know what it is. Constantly rotate your vehicle as you paint. You don't want to get too heavy of a buildup. That's really starting to look nice. And if you mixed your paint properly with your hardener, the shine on this thing will be absolutely incredible, and you won't have to go back in and clear coat it. Now in this case, that looks wonderful. In this case, we're going to have to clear coat it because we're putting on decal.
The very next morning.
We let the paint sit overnight and it's nice and hard. Now we're going to go ahead and put on these decals. Kenny Terry made these decals for me. Now you can also get these same decals at Second Chance Red Lines. Vince has a wonderful product, but Kenny Terry is my go-to guy when it comes to doing my decals. So hats off to Kenny Terry. He's really good at making custom decals for you, and not only can he do them for the 1/64th cars, but he can also do them for the 1/18th scale, the 1/25th scale, etc. So if you need something special, get a hold of Kenny Terry, and he will take care of you at www.kennyterry.com. I dip the decal in the water for approximately 5 to 10 seconds. I pull it out and slowly work it off the paper, and then apply it to the area it needs to go to. Now, not only do you have the big eagle decal on the side, you've got a little tiny decal in the corner with a star in there that you put on there also. Just take your time and put them in place, and then you're going to let those decals sit when you get both sides done, and when they dry up, you're going to go back over them with the micro set and coat them over to make sure that they're conforming to the complex curves of the vehicle. You should use a toothpick when it comes to moving the decals. I tend to grab my tweezers as the first thing, and in the past I have ripped my decal before. So use something soft like a Q-tip or a toothpick or something like that. Now you'll notice there that the decal is overlapping a little bit right there. We're going to have to use the micro set to melt that decal around the fender so it fits properly. And that's what the micro set does. Now we need to attack the wheels. Like I said, these wheels are super sloppy. For some reason, these white wheels, they just don't hold up over the time. So we're going to have to get some replacement wheels. I happen to have some chrome ones that I found, and they came off of a, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the vehicle, a Texas Ranger or something like that. So there's some chrome wheels there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut these out. We're going to put a brass axle tube in there, and then we're going to put these new chrome wheels on there. But we're going to do our best to save the Goodyear tires because I think they look pretty darn cool. So I've got my Dremel and my little rotary stone here, and we're going to grind that down so we can get the wheels out. Maybe a little bit more. Let's go ahead and move on. Now that we've got the wheels out, I had to take my grinder and widen the channel just a little bit to make sure that the brass tubing will fit in there properly. Just do your best to make sure that you cut it straight and you don't go too deep. Sorry for the angle there. There we go. That ought to fit that brass tube nicely. Just cleaned out the channel so it'll fit nice and flat. Maybe just a little bit more. That should fit good enough now. Nice. Let's go ahead and move on. Here we've got the brass tube. I put the tube inside the body of the car, the base of the car, and I measured out how long they need to be. Now I'm taking my X-Acto knife and I'm just rolling it back and forth. This will cut through your tube nice and clean. Now you still may have to widen the hole on the end just a little bit with the end of the razor knife, but you can get a nice clean cut with this. And even if you have to touch it up with a file or something like that. And be careful because you'll send it across the table once it cuts through. There, we're all set. Like that there. If it's clogged up like that, just take the end of your razor knife and stick it in the end and twist it around. That'll clean it out. Looking good. Let's move on. Now we're going to take that same brass tubing. I'm going to take an old axle from another vehicle or a junk pile that I got, and I'm going to put that inside the brass tube. Now what I'm going to do here, and I got this from Keith at Outlaw Speed Shop. Take your little grinder and grind a little channel in your pipe. And a little easier to hold with a pair of pliers or something here. There you go. Make sure you cut it the right place. Already started a little bit. Here you go. Take your time. A little easier said than done, right? You'll see little sparks on there. That means you're getting down to that little axle pin. That should be good enough right there. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to pull that axle pin out, and it's also going to clean your channel at the same time. So like I said, just pull that pin out. There you go. And you got a nice channel for when you stick your axle pin in, you got a place for the glue to attach to. Repeat it on both sides like so. And there's your channel pin. Now we're going to polish up the body that we don't have the wheels on it. Now one of my subscribers said to me, "You're using way too much flitz." Well, you know what? He was right. All you need is a little tiny bit here. Go ahead and put it on and rub it in and then buff it in and it'll look nice. Thank you, Eric, for the tip. Flitz is really good stuff. It's not cheap, but it works great. Also, the Blue Magic Metal Polish Cream, that works fantastic also. Buff as much as you can, using up the cream that you put on there. And if you need to put a little bit more on there, go ahead and do it. But this way here, you're not wasting it. That's looking real good. Let's go ahead and move on. Now let's put the windshield in the gauzy. I did find one from another vehicle. I took a little bit of light sandpaper, about 1200 grit, and I lightly buffed the windshield just to get the scratches out of it. Gauzy's really good stuff. You can also use Pledge Revive. I'm using the gauzy because I've already got the bottle open. Dip it in the gauzy, make sure everything's coated really well. And then you want to wick off the excess by touching it to a paper towel or something to absorb the excess fluid. Now the gauzy only takes about an hour or so to dry, but you definitely want to make sure that it's dry before you start handling it again. Got a little bit of buildup there, but that'll wick off, and then we'll place it inside this container. A little bit extra there. A little more. Place it inside the container, and we'll cover it up to keep the dust off of it. And we'll let that sit for a minimum of an hour, maybe a little bit longer. A lot of times I like to let it sit overnight. Now we need to put the axles in. Here we've got the axle tubes that we made with the little channels in there. They're sitting nice and flat, which is good. Just make sure they're centered. Now we're going to get the super glue, and this is the gel kind of super glue. It's a lot easier to manage than the liquid kind, and if you put the liquid kind on there, it tends to travel down the tube, and it uses capillary action to travel, so you got to really be careful when you're using the thin liquid kind. The gel kind at least stays in place. Same thing in the back. Center it up. Make sure your channels are facing upwards for when you put your wheels in. Using the gel type super glue, go ahead and put that in there and then let it set. Now this glue I got at the dollar store or Dollar General, so you can pick it up pretty cheap. That's looking great. Let's let that set and harden up. Now it's time to put the wheels in. I inserted the end of the axle into the tube, and then I pushed it in with the razor knife and made sure that it's set. Now we're going to take the super glue and we're going to put the glue into the channel where the axle is exposed. This will hold your axle in place. Make sure the axle's pushed in all the way. Using your gel super glue, put it over the exposed part of the channel where you can see the axle. Now don't be in a hurry with this. You can let it set for a while and let it harden up. But I got a video to make, so we're going to go ahead and put the rear wheels in also. Just make sure that your axle is not touching in the center and sticking out too far. You may have to trim that axle up a little bit. The wheels just weren't long enough to put in there by themselves as to why I had to use the axle tubes. So I cut the axle in half, and now I'm inserting it into this brass tubing. Getting old sucks. Trying to find the hole to put that axle in. Use your knife, push the axle in all the way, just like the others. And then use your gel super glue and glue that exposed channel to glue the axle into place. That's looking really good. Let's move on. Here we've got all of our parts. We got the body, and that turned out nice once we clear coated it to protect the decals. We found a replacement interior and bed. We put the new rims on there, but we reused the wheels. That was very important. It's got the real riders on there. That looks great with that polished base. Here we've got the glass that we used in the gauzy. We put the gauzy over it to protect it and make it shiny. That turned out really super nice. Let's put it together. And this is what we started with. We got this Bywayman truck. The decals are all chewed up. The paint's all chewed up. The windshield and everything's broken. We found a donor truck. We got the new interior in the back. We found the same donor truck. We got those off of. When we replaced the wheels with chrome wheels and reused the tires. This one here, it was in definite need of restoration. Now, because of what we did, you could call this a custom because we did change the wheels. But those white wheels, although they're really cool, they're really sloppy. And almost every one I've ever found has been sloppy like that. So we definitely needed to replace those wheels. But we did everything we needed to. And this is what we got to. Look at how sweet that turned out. That rude blue from the Redline shop. What a beautiful, beautiful paint job there. The base, we shined it up, we polished it up. We replaced the wheels with these chrome wheels and reused the tires because they were in good shape. We found a brand new windshield, we coated it up. We found a brand new interior, we cleaned that up and put it in. What a beautiful restoration. Guys, you can find these trucks really cheap too. Now, if you wanted to go in and touch up the headlights and the tail lights, etc., you can definitely do that. But the one tip I'm going to offer you today is if you put decals on, folks, you need to clear coat over them to protect them. And there's your tip today from your Uncle Paulie. I had a lot of fun with this build today. Now I'd like to thank my Patreon subscribers. Grim Reaper level, William K7 Robinson, Dale Johnson, Ed Ostrander, and Richard Reese. Mortician level, Jake Rademacher, Sam Pascal, Air Warrior Coffee, and Ricky Montalvo. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Funeral Director, Double B's Customs. Check out his Facebook page. Diecast Sheriff and Dave Christensen. Thank you so much, sir. Gravedigger level, Wade Hendricks, Grizz Flowers, and new member John Homan. Thank you so much, sir. Paul Bearer, new level, Gary Tasker. Thank you, sir. Hearse Driver level, Jim Silva. Check out his YouTube page. Diecast Pirate Ronald Raby and Stephen Terrence. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough. If you want to become a member of Patreon, check out the comments. This video was brought to you by the Redline Shop. The Redline Shop offers a complete line of decals, tools to take your car apart, put them back together, replacement hoods, replacement glass, those beautiful Redline tires, and of course, the world famous Spectre Flame paints. Fantastic products. The Redline Shop at www.redlineshop.com, where Redlines come to life. I want to thank you for joining me on Diecast Graveyard today. This build was a really fun build and I enjoyed it very much. We got a lot more builds coming up in the future. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. My name is Paul with Diecast Graveyard. Have a great day.